30 male. I've been married to Rita, 29 female, for only 2 years, and everything is already falling apart. I've been through bad relationships, but the fact that I got far enough to choose to marry Rita made me believe that everything was sorted. I had found the person who I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and at least most of what was left of it. I was foolish. Women are all the same. I've done a lot for this woman, and it is absolutely insane that after all of it, this is how I'm being paid back. I had no idea anything was going on, so a big part of me feels like a fool since I could have been more vigilant somehow. She's been cheating on me for about 8 months now. Despite the fact that we're married, it seems like she has no issue telling people that she's single and essentially dating others, despite the fact we should belong solely to one another. I work remotely, and if I didn't, I probably would never have figured out the truth. Someone knocked at the door when I was working, and I knew that I hadn't ordered food, and there were no deliveries expected, so I was a little surprised by that. When I opened the door, I saw a guy who looked relatively young. I could tell he wasn't anything older than 26 or 27. He looked surprised to see me, but I was also surprised to see him, especially because I didn't recognize him, and he wasn't in a rush to say anything. I had to ask him what he was there for, and he asked if Rita was around. He said her full name, so I initially assumed it was some kind of official business. I let him know that she wasn't, and that she was at work. I told him he could leave a message with me, or if he came to drop something, I could take it since I was her husband. Even though I had noticed his shock earlier, it became even more evident at that point. And he repeated, "Husband?" I told him yes, and he let me know that he'd probably just come back another time, instead of bothering me. I let him know the times he was most likely to find her at home. Alternatively, he could just come during the weekend. He acknowledged that and left. When Rita got back home, I told her that someone had came looking for her. She asked who, and I hadn't asked for his name, so I just described him. I asked if she knew who fit that description, but she said she wasn't sure. There were a few people that might have, but she didn't seem very convinced that it was any of them. In fact, she seemed to believe that none of them knew where she lived, so it couldn't have been them. I pointed out that the person refused to leave a message. She said she'd asked the likely culprits to see if it was them. The very next day, almost identical to the first time, someone came to the house and knocked on the door. It was the same guy. I told him the same thing. This time around, I was a little annoyed because I had made it clear the best hours to come around if he wanted to see her. He told me that he was there for me, not for her. I pointed out that he didn't know me, and he agreed, but he said that it was important. He asked if he could come inside, but since I didn't know him, I said we'd have to make do with speaking outside. He was mostly fine with that. He seemed nervous, and he said there was something really important he had to tell me. He had met Rita in town almost a year ago, and he had liked her. He approached her, and she didn't seem to push him away. He also swore that he didn't see a ring on her, so he assumed that she was single, especially because she seemed pretty young. He told me that he had been talking to her on and off for several months, and not only that, but they had met up a few times. That was exactly how he put it. I was confused, so I had to ask him to clarify it for me. "Are you saying that you've been dating Rita?" He didn't want to use the word dating because nothing had been made official, but they were really close. He said that he had been thinking about her more and more, and because of that, he had chosen to find her and confess his feelings. She hadn't been answering his messages as much as usual, and that was the reason why he figured out where she lived. That was worrying enough to me. I asked how he had figured out our house, but he didn't want to say too much about that. He seemed sane enough to me in that moment, so I just chose to leave that topic since he didn't seem like he was crazy, a stalker or something. He had heard me say I was her husband, and his brain had just frozen, so he left and had to think about what he wanted to do. He chose that it was best to come clean, which is what he had come to do. It was hard for me to believe. I had to ask him whether they had slept together, and even though he hesitated, he eventually answered and said that it had happened a few times. He said that it never seemed suspicious to him. She never had to quickly run away, and she never had silly excuses for most things. He said that the only thing she did that was a bit off was the fact that sometimes she didn't answer for her texts for ages. He made the connection at that moment, but she was likely in places where I was, so she could never reply to him in those moments. He made it clear that they were never actually dating, but it seemed very close to that in his mind. He had just wanted to make it official. I just sat there for several minutes while I took in everything that he said. It was so hard for me to believe because I had had no idea that Rita was seeing someone else. It genuinely seemed like there was no way for her to fit an affair into her schedule. But if the guy beside me was telling the truth, then it was clear that she had figured it out. I asked him for his name, and he said it was Marcel. I asked Marcel why I needed to believe him. So he started by telling me a lot of personal things about Rita. Pretty much everything was accurate, but I told him it wasn't good enough for me to believe him. He could have stalked her for social media, or he might have known her from some point in the past. That was when he pulled out his phone and started showing me photos that the two of them had taken at restaurants and other places in our city. He even showed me a picture of the two of them that he had taken in a hotel, so I knew that there was some truth to everything that he was saying. While I did consider the possibility that it was all photoshopped, I knew that I was in denial. There was no other reason this guy would just randomly show up at our door with pictures of my wife and so many personal details and choose to destroy our marriage. My head was spinning, so I took down his number and told him to go. If I needed to know anything else, I would be sure to send him a message. He seemed a bit disappointed by me dismissing him. I don't know what else he wanted to happen, but he left. I asked him to send me all the pictures and videos that he had of him and Rita, and he did that. I looked through them as intently as I could, and there was nothing I could use to convince myself that they were fake. All of it was real. I asked him to get me an exact date when he started talking to her, and he did. It was 8 months ago. I tried my best to cross-reference and see if I could see exactly what happened that day. I did know that she got back home late based on her messages, but I can't remember the exact reason, though it was likely one of her girls' nights out. I'm a fool for that, because men have been saying for ages that nothing good ever happens during those. I always had a worry, but I know her friends and most of them are respectable people, so my assumption was that those people wouldn't have sat around and allowed some nonsense to happen under their noses. All of them were friendly with me, and if they sat around while she breaks her vows, then I'd be very disappointed in them. But considering that their friend isn't exactly someone trustworthy, I'm not sure why I expect so much from them. I really don't know how to feel. I think I feel mostly disappointed and sadness. There isn't any anger. Maybe deep inside, I knew that she was capable of this as a woman. Maybe I just haven't met any good ones to give me a positive impression. But so many of them I know just aren't good people. So our marriage ending with me finding out that she has a secret boyfriend or partner or whatever you want to call him isn't that insane to me. It was just proving that what I had hoped wasn't the truth. Marcel has been beating himself up ever since I told him that it is going to have to end in divorce. He's wondering if he made the right decision, but I've told him that he did. I don't want to be with someone who betrays me. Sure, what you don't know won't hurt you, but I'll never choose ignorance over truth. Never. No matter how much the truth hurts. It hurts right now, but I'll be fine and I'll be better for it. It might just take some time, and that's fine. Marcel thinks that we need to get back at her. Maybe it's because the wound is still very fresh, but I'm not jumping up at that idea. It just seems like adding more of a headache to what I'm already dealing with. However, I might consider it later on when I'm more settled. I don't even have the bandwidth to confront her. She noticed something is up with me, but I've been covering it up pretty well. I can't cover it up for much longer though, because every time she touches me, I struggle not to recoil. I don't want her to touch me, but I can't stop her from doing that unless I'm ready to drop the bombshell now. I'm not. I'll figure it out one way or another though, that's for sure. Update 1. I feel better now, so thank you to everyone who decided to check in on me. Of course, I won't say that life is a bed of roses now, but I feel less like life isn't worth living. So that's good enough, I'd say. I spoke to Marcel at length yesterday, and he did a very good job of convincing me that we had to do something to show Rita that she's not allowed to get away with this kind of behavior. He's right. I think a lot of cheaters cheat again, and a big reason they feel no reason not to is that they managed to get away with it the first time. We need to show her that she doesn't deserve to get away with it, and she won't. Public shaming is the best way to teach that kind of lesson and let her understand that what she did is wrong. Her birthday is coming up, and that's where it is going down. I didn't plan to throw a party for her, but I'm going to do it this time around. She's going to love it until she doesn't. I'm ready to spend quite a bit of money, actually, to make it go well for the most part. I've already spoken to a divorce lawyer. I'll have her served right there. But there's only going to be part of the embarrassment that's waiting for her. She can't destroy my life and get away with it. I thought that I would be able to be happy for once, but clearly not. Someone always has to ruin it for me, and she's done that. I have very little pity in my heart for her. I don't love her anymore, and I'll show her that. Update 2. I'm back. This should be my very final update on this. Even if something minor happens after this, I'll probably just stick it in an update. I've been waiting for this saga of my life to be over, and now that it is, there's nothing that will ever bring me back to it or make me want to go back to it. I planned her surprise birthday with the help of her friends and her family. I even had Marcel help in a few ways. I knew that she was going to love it because it was exactly to her taste. I didn't buy her any gifts because I had obviously endured enough expense for a cheating wife. I wasn't going to spend any more than was truly necessary. When her birthday came around, I took her through the usual motions. After work, I found a way to meet up with her and keep her from ending up in the house. I took her to eat a light dinner at one of her favorite spots. After that, we took a drive to her favorite viewpoint in town and we sat there for a bit. We talked about the first time that we had gone there. It did make my heart ache a little, but at the same time, it was all the more reason why I needed to end things. We shared so many beautiful memories, but less than 2 years into our marriage, she had already started looking for other people. She wasn't the kind of person I was meant to be with for the rest of my life, no matter how much she'd choose to beg. Eventually, I told her it was time to go, and we headed back to the house. When we walked in, there was the lights going on and everyone shouting, "Surprise!" And she was really surprised. She was so happy to see so many people she knew, and she got teary-eyed that I had pulled everything together. It was almost the perfect birthday surprise until she saw Marcel. She acted normal. He came to hug her like the rest did, but she froze and had to quickly act normal. But from that point, she was very clearly agitated and uneasy. She didn't know why he was there. She asked me how I had gotten everyone to attend, and I claimed that I had just grabbed a bunch of numbers from her phone, the people and names that I knew. She said that there were a few I grabbed that she wasn't on good terms with, but I just brushed it away with a lazy apology. She saw me chatting with Marcel at a point, and she nearly ran over to listen in. Then she tried to pull Marcel away to chat with him, but he refused to go, which only agitated her even more. She was still under the impression that I didn't know anything about Marcel and that he was the only ticking time bomb there. Towards the end of the night, people were saying their favorite things about her, and then the point came when Marcel chose to speak. She really wanted to stop him from saying anything, but that was going to be worse than taking a chance on him speaking. Either way, she wasn't going to win. He started his story with the actual way that they met, and that was when she decided to take a chance and butt in. She was trying to act like it was an embarrassing story that she didn't want him to tell, and she got pretty aggressive in stopping him from talking. When she realized that she couldn't stop him, she asked me to, claiming that he was one of the people that she hadn't wanted there. That was how I stepped in, like a hero, and explained to everyone that Rita didn't want Marcel there because the two of them had been sleeping together. She blinked a few times, like she wasn't sure whether she heard correctly. Some of the other people weren't sure if they had heard properly either. I don't blame them. Then she tried to stop me from talking, but I didn't mind talking right over her to explain the entire situation to everyone. Marcel wasn't the bad guy because he had had no idea that she was a married woman. She hadn't told him that. Instead, she had been married to me and going out with him behind my back. Both of us had been absolutely fooled by her, and from the moment she walked into the party and saw him, she knew there was a problem. There was a lot of talking. A lot of her family was trying to calm the situation down, but I refused to let it be calmed. I said that there was more than enough evidence that she had actually been cheating on me, and for obvious reasons. I wouldn't be able to stay married to her. That was the point when one of my friends walked up to her and handed her the divorce papers. She took them and just stared at the envelope blankly, like she couldn't believe how quickly things were spiraling out of control. I told everyone that they didn't need to feel bad for her, especially if they didn't feel bad for me for being cheated on. I had been married to her for just 2 years, and she had already cheated on me for 8 months of that time. She didn't need anyone's sympathy. It was just the consequences of her actions. I let her family and friends know that they could be helpful and assist her in taking some of her things out of the apartment. They tried to act affronted and tell me I was taking it too far, but I just laughed because I didn't expect anything different. It's crazy how they won't acknowledge her bad behavior, but my reaction is what they'll try and police what I do. It didn't take long for the party to disperse, but the one image I'll have burned into my head is Rita crying as the party fell apart. I knew the humiliation hit her hard. That's what I wanted. She did have some of her essentials moved out of her apartment at that time, but the rest was gotten sometime later. We haven't finalized the divorce, but I don't expect it to be notably in my favor. I'll take whatever comes my way. I'm just glad that I'm done with that woman. It wasn't easy, but it's done. I'm just glad she had an affair partner who cared enough to tell me. Honestly, she deserves every ounce of embarrassment you threw at her. Public humiliation, the shock of seeing her boyfriend and you side by side, the divorce papers handed like a final scorecard. Perfect. Marcel did a favor by being honest, but you did him and yourself the favor of making sure she felt the full weight of what she'd done. The only tragedy here is that you wasted 2 years on someone who clearly thinks the world revolves around her whims. She's trash, pure and simple. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.